Hey everyone. Today we're going to talk about something that can change a life in a split second, a spinal cord injury. More importantly, we're going to break down the incredible system doctors use to make sense of it all, from the moment it happens all the way down the long road to recovery.
I mean, it's a huge kind of terrifying question, right? When the body's main communication line gets cut, the very first step is to figure out what exactly just happened. And that's what we're going to unpack right here.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the spinal cord itself. Then we'll see why a universal standard was so desperately needed. We'll look at how doctors literally map out an injury, how all that data gets turned into a single grade, and finally, why that one little grade is such a massive deal. Okay, let's dive right in. To really get what an injury means, you first have to understand the spinal cord itself. This is honestly the perfect way to think about it. Your brain is like the command center, sending out messages down the superhighway. Things like, hey, kick that ball, or pick up that cup. At the exact same time, your body is sending signals back up, saying, ouch, that's hot, or that's a soft blanket. It's this constant two-way river of information that just happens. So a spinal cord injury, an SCI, is like a massive traffic jam on that highway, or even a complete bridge collapse. Suddenly, that flow of messages gets jammed up or stopped completely, and that can mess with everything from moving your legs to feeling the sun on your skin. Now imagine trying to fix that collapsed bridge, but every engineer on site speaks a completely different language. That's kind of what it was like for doctors for a long, long time. One doctor might say an injury was bad, another might call it pretty severe. That kind of vagueness was a huge problem for patient care and for any real research. And look at this. The difference is just night and day. We go from these fuzzy, subjective descriptions to a precise, universal code that any doctor anywhere on the planet can look at and understand instantly. This wasn't just about better notes. This was a total revolution in how these injuries are treated. And this is the solution that made it all possible, the ISN-CSII exam. Now, that's a mouthful, so most people just call it the ASIA exam, named after the American Spinal Injury Association. It became the one, single, globally recognized gold standard for this. So how does this gold standard actually work in practice? Let's pull back the curtain and see how clinicians can pinpoint the exact location and the severity of the damage. It really boils down to these 3 steps. It's super methodical. First, they test what you can feel. Then, they test what you can move. And from all that info, they find the exact neurological level of the injury. Basically, the last fully working exit on that information superhighway. Let's start with that first step, the sensory level. To find this, doctors test what are called dermatomes. You can think of a dermatome map as a chart of your skin, where every little patch is wired to a specific nerve in your spine. They test each spot for both a light touch and a little pinprick to see which of those wires are still sending clear signals to the brain. And this just shows you how incredibly thorough this process is. We're not talking about a quick check. They test 28 key sensory points on both the left and the right side of the body. They are building a really, really detailed map of what's working and what's not. Okay, after sensation comes the motor level. This is the same idea but for movement. They focus on myotomes, which are just groups of muscles all controlled by the same spinal nerve. Now, that grade of 3 out of 5 is super important. It means the muscle is strong enough to move against gravity all on its own. It's a key benchmark that helps them find the lowest point where the brain's commands are still getting through with enough oomph. All right, this is where it all comes together. All that detailed data, every single pinprick test, every muscle score, it all gets synthesized into one single, unbelievably important letter grade. And this is it, the ASIA Impairment Scale, or AIS. An AIS grade A means a complete injury. The roadblock is total. Nothing is getting through. Grades B, C, and D are all incomplete, which means some signals are still trickling past the damage. A grade B means you have sensation below the injury, but no movement. Grade C and D both have some motor function, but the difference is all about strength. With a grade C, less than half of the key muscles are strong enough to fight gravity. With a grade D, at least half of them are. And finally, grade E means sensory and motor function are all back to normal. And this quote it hits the nail on the head. That letter grade gives everyone, the doctors, the therapists, the family, an instant shared understanding of the situation. It's the foundation for the entire recovery plan. So why does one little letter matter that much? Well, because its impact stretches way beyond that initial hospital room. It shapes everything from daily physical therapy to the worldwide search for future cures.
I mean, the power packed into this one grade is just immense. It literally guides the rehab team on what to work on. It helps give patients and families a much clearer, more honest picture of what the future might hold. And crucially, it gives researchers a consistent way to measure if new treatments are actually working. And that last point is an absolute game changer. Think about it. Without a universal scale, how could a scientist in Germany know if her results are even comparable to a study being done in Japan? The Asia scale allows the entire global research community to speak the same language, to share data, and to work together to push the science forward.
So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, the Asia scale is doing something pretty amazing. It gives us a crystal clear way to define an injury the moment it happens. But by doing that, it's also laying the essential groundwork that helps redefine what the future of recovery can even look like. It provides clarity for today, and with that clarity comes hope for tomorrow.